This is the Pythonic Accountant, and today we're in the first of a series of videos that we're going to be teaching you how to use Python to interact with OpenAI and probably some of the other leading models like Anthropic's Claude in order to use generative AI with Python for business and accounting purposes. So to get started, the first thing you'll want to do is make sure you have an API key, because that's really the way that we're going to interact with these OpenAI tools. API stands for Application Program Interface, and all of the major providers have API keys. So if you already have an OpenAI account, you'll want to go to platform.openai.com, and then once you're here, you'll click on the settings icon. And then once you're in the settings, you go to API keys. And once you're in here, you'll create a new secret key, and you'll give it a name, and then you will select a project, and then you'll create secret key. Then what you'll want to do is copy this, and you'll save it somewhere, because if you lose it, you won't be able to access this API key, although you can create new ones easily. And then once you're done, it's available. And if you decide, you know what, I'm going to delete this one, which I'm going to do now because I just showed a whole bunch of people, I'm going to revoke key. But let's say you did keep that one. Now we're going to go over to Google Colab. I'm going to probably have a few different ways we program, but to make it easy, if you go to colab.research.google.com, if you have a Google account, you can sign in, and now you can easily start writing Python code. Now, I'm not going to go through a full Python tutorial here, but in case you are not familiar with Google Colab, it is awesome and really easy to start writing code. For example, I can just write print hello world, and I'm going to hold shift and press enter, and that's the same thing as clicking that little arrow right there, the run key, and it's going to run this cell and give me the response right here, hello world. So you can, anything you write in Python anywhere else, you can write in these cells, and it's beautiful. So we're just going to walk through how to use Colab to create a simple program that will let you interact with OpenAI's API now that we have the API key. So first we have to add the API key to the environment. So what we're going to do here is create a new API key, so add a new secret, and I already have my OpenAI key here, and you can't see it because it's hidden. If you want to view it, I have another one that's just a fake one here, that you click this and you can see the value, but otherwise it's hidden. You need to check this box so it's accessible in the notebook. And then finally, it's important that you use this code in your notebook in order to access the key. So I'm just going to show you how we can access and just display the value of fave food. And we're going to do fave_food. And this should now be able to grab the value from here, pizza. So we'll do the same thing, and I'll show you where we get it, where we use it to get the OpenAI API key. So I'm going to close this out. So first thing we have to do here is install the updated version of OpenAI. This way you know that even though Colab might have an older version, like it has 1.59.9, it's best practice to just use the most current version just in case there's any changes in how OpenAI is using things on their end. So the updated OpenAI library will work best. Next, we're going to import two things. One is the OpenAI library, and next is the user data that we used, showed you above in order to get access to pulling that secret API key. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set the model that we're going to use. So let's say we're going to use GPT-4o. And this client is what's going to allow us to actually make the API calls and interact with the API. So now we're going to write our first function, and the only function in this example. So this function we're calling getCompletion. We're going to take 3 parameters, and 2 of them we're going to go ahead and set the values and make them optional, but the first one is required, so you have to have a prompt. We're going to say the model is just going to be equal to this model up here, but if we want to change it, we can do that down below. And then we're just going to use a default system message for now, you're a helpful assistant. And so now we're setting a completion, and this completion here is basically using a format that's required. So this is a separate function here, the create underneath the client chat completions from OpenAI. We're going to use the same model that we pulled from up here. And actually I should do, there we go, I fixed it. Otherwise, it wouldn't actually pull through that variable. And then the messages, we're creating just a two-part message. First is the system message, which is this one, or pulling from here. And then the second is the prompt that we're passing in. And then finally, we're returning the response that we're saying, assistant saying this. And then this is just the text that comes back from the message. So let's go ahead and create this function, make it accessible. And now the last part of this video, we're just going to show you playing around with this. So we're going to say get completion. What is 100 divided by 0? It's going to say you can't divide 100 by 0, but it'll probably give us a snarky response. No, it was a good technical response. If we wanted to get snarky, we'd probably have to push it a little bit. What is 100 divided by 0? Don't tell me it's not defined. Just do it. Then let me fix these parentheses. And now we should get a snarkier response. What do you got, OpenAI? Not snarky, just refusing to do it. That's all right. It's a good response. Okay, let's just do a couple more. Just kind of show it's similar to the chat interface. So you're probably thinking, well, how is this any different than using ChatGPT? And what I'll say is it's not right now, but being able to programmatically interface with it will allow us to do many, many, many more things, such as automating many requests, feeding in data from different sources, creating a chain of requests. There's a lot of interesting things that we'll start to explore. But we'll just kind of show two more just for fun. Explain accrual accounting to a 5-year-old in 3 sentences. Accrual accounting is like keeping track of promises. Nice. I like it. Now, one more. I'm a college student. Should I study accounting? Ask me probing questions to help me decide. Now, this isn't going to work like we want because this is not set up to do a back and forth. So it's not going to save my response and be able to, have a full conversation. But just for fun, it'll be interesting to see what his response is here. It'll probably just ask me a few, kind of thought-provoking questions to help me decide. Certainly, deciding on a field of study is a significant decision. Okay, very good. You'll probably notice that the format's not great here. We're seeing some things like these double asterisks and these /n's. So these are what are called new line characters. These asterisks here, these are a format called Markdown. And so having these formatting come through is actually pretty expected. The standard way to kind of render this response in a Markdown format would be using a Markdown renderer, and we can show you another time how to do that. But for now, just know that this is the kind of response that we are going to get, and we just have to figure out how to handle it. Now, maybe I'll show one more example of where I would typically, show what the benefits of doing this programmatically are. Let's say create some mock data for with 5 records and the following fields. Let's say name, let's say address, age, and favorite movie. Output in JSON format. So now this is where kind of doing the programmatic piece gets really cool. So because this is giving us a response in JSON format, okay, it wasn't exactly perfect. I should have asked it to only give us the JSON, not the message, but that's okay. So when we get the JSON back, this is something we can actually parse using a JSON parser, and we can automate this. And so there's also a variable that we can put into the function up here. Again, I can show you another time, but it's another parameter that tells us that the format we want back is JSON. So it'll force it to only give us the JSON and not the text around it. That way we can take this response and feed it directly into, say, pandas and create a table. So you can probably see where we're going here, that we can automate a lot of interesting things here. But even this is pretty cool to show. Like, okay, we've got JSON, we've got a name, we've got an address, favorite movie, Inception, very nice. Jane Smith, and then Boulder, Colorado, age 34, favorite movie, The Matrix. There's some good movies. I like it. Well, anyways, this was the end of the first video in our series. Please try this out yourself. I think that going through this process is going to be the only way you'll really get a handle on starting to code with Python, interacting with OpenAI and some of the others. And so just get started. Thank you. See you in the next one.